Welcome in everybody to NBA Primetime Picks February 22nd. First day back from the break. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. Today we got Phoenix at Dallas. We know we've been loving that rivalry between Booker and Doncic. And then Lakers at Golden State, but no LeBron. So that one's probably not going to be as fun as we expected. But we're going to break everything down that you need to know to give you guys the best picks as you're watching these games on primetime tonight. So let's get into it. As always, what we're going to do, we're going to break down everything that you need to know in terms of matchup, assists, rebounds, different shooting zones, all that stuff. We're going to do that for both games. And then at the end, I'm going to give you guys my favorite picks and parlays, as well as one tidbit of information that could help you in the next week or so. So we're going to start off with the Suns and Dallas. We're going to look at last 15 games. So I think that's a big enough sample size while only looking at relevant data. So we're not looking at stuff from November that might be skewing the data. So we'll look at assists allowed first, and we can just see the Suns are pretty close to the middle of the pack. Nothing really worth noting there. Dallas on the lower end, but after that trade, we don't know how much that changes things. A 3-game sample size against Washington and 2 other teams I don't consider to be too reliable. We can check the rebound side as well. Dallas allows the 12th least, and the Suns allow the 13th least. So there's not too much edge on the rebound side. Maybe you could call assists on the Suns side an edge, but not really an area I want to target. Let's get into some of the shooting zones. So we'll look at some catch and shoot first, and again, we'll look at last 15 games. Again, I need to stress, take the Dallas data with a little grain of salt just because of some of the trades that came in, but more or less, it'll be fairly accurate. So in terms of the catch and shoot data, we'll look at frequency. We can see the Suns are pretty close to the middle of the pack again, and Dallas don't allow a lot of catch and shoot. And what usually happens, and what I know is going to happen with Dallas, is Dallas doesn't allow a lot of catch and shoot because they allow a lot of pull-up shooting. So we can see here, last 15 games, Dallas are allowing the 6th highest percentage of field goal attempts against them as pull-up shots. So you're going to look at your ball handlers, which is good for the Suns when you see they have Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal. Those are all pull-up shooters. They want to get the ball, beat you off the dribble, and take a pull-up shot. So that's good for them. As far as the Suns, they don't allow a lot of pull-up shots. Not ideal for your Lukas and your Kyries, but they're middle of the pack in catch and shoot allowed. So let's go check how they're doing defending closer to the basket. And we can see here they allow a much higher percentage of shots against them within 10 feet. That's going to be good for your Luka assist in the pick and roll with, I can't remember if Lively's supposed to be back or not, but even without him, Gafford, PJ Washington, Derrick Jones rolling to the basket. So Luka will get his no matter what. That's just who he is. But when everybody else around him can get theirs too, that usually is a good sign. And we can check Dallas defense. They're not allowing a lot within the basket. So we can also check free field goal percentage allowed. That is also a pretty good indicator. Suns are middle of the pack, or they're better than average. So that might balance out their percentage of shots they're allowed. And Dallas on the opposite, they might be right on the average. So you don't want to target people that need to score in the paint against Dallas. You want to target pull-up shooters against them. And for the Suns, I think you're still, because of Luka in this scenario, I think you can still safely take guys that score in the paint because the general attraction that Luka brings compared to other players means his teammates will probably have easier looks around the basket. So let's go check some of the specific play types that either team is better or worse at defending. We can check score frequency allowed on the defensive side, and we see let's look at percentiles since it'll be easier. Suns are middle of the pack in points per possession allowed. Dallas also 52nd percentile. So nothing crazy in the ISO. So now let's look at transition. We'll look at points allowed because I don't like looking at percentile because it's really more about how often teams are allowed in transition rather than how efficient they are in transition. So we can see Dallas, they do allow a decent bit in transition, and the Suns probably more middle of the pack. Now let's go check on the pick and roll, which is one of the more highly used plays in basketball nowadays, it feels like. So we can check defensively. We'll check efficiency allowed. We can see Dallas actually a little bit better than average at 62nd percentile at defending it. And the Suns, also middle of the pack, 48th percent. So we're getting a lot of very middle of the pack stuff where there's not many edges, but all we need to find is one. So we're going to keep digging. We can see Suns and defending the roll man in the pick and roll. Again, about league average. Dallas, this is where we're going to see uh, they're really good in the 86th percentile. Honestly, with Gafford in the mix, I'd expect them to get even better. Gafford, just because he was in Washington, did not get the credit that he deserved as far as a defensive threat, but he's a pretty good player defensively. So um, I think this number is actually, we could probably treat it more as like a 93rd percentile type of defense against pick and roll. And we can check handoff, which isn't too much of a deal for either of these offenses. Maybe a little bit with Nurkic on the Sun side, but probably less so since Beal came in the mix. But we'll check it anyways. We can see Dallas defensively. They rank in the 34th percentile in defending it. And the Suns, they are elite, 83rd percentile. But again, Dallas doesn't really run the pick and or the handoff that much. So just to kind of sum up what we've talked about so far, Dallas allows a lot of pull-up shooting. Suns allow, at least more recently, they're allowing more shots in the paint, which wasn't really the case a month ago. They've kind of been all over the place. So them more than any other team, you want to look at more recent data to get a good idea of what they're looking like. So personally, I think Luka assists in play because we can check the tracking here. And last 3 games since the trade, 2 of the games have been blowouts. So even though he's averaging 37 minutes on the season, he only averaged 33 across these 3. He's averaging 16.6 potential assists on the season in those 37 minutes. Now with 4 less minutes per game, he's seeing almost 2 more potential assists per game, and he gets what I think is a friendly assist matchup today. So I think he's in play. That's probably the only thing on the Dallas side I would touch. Again, the Suns are pretty good against ISO, so as much as I love Kyrie, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy watching him today. I'm not going to be putting any money on him. On the Suns side, there wasn't too much edge. You could target the pull-up shooting, but having to decide who's going to be the pull-up shooter more often today between Booker, KD, and Beal, my money would be on KD if I had to choose, but I don't really want to choose because the whole dynamic between Beal and Booker, we don't really know what it is right now. Beal was starting to take over a little bit more usage before the break, but then tweaked his hamstring, and he's supposed to play, but I don't know if he's 100% healthy. So I don't want to play that Booker and Beal game. KD is KD. If he has a good matchup, he'll go off. So against a team that allows a lot of pull-up shooting, if I had to pick one of those 3, it would be KD. But personally, I'm not going to play that game. Now, let's get into Lakers and Warriors. Again, LeBron is out. So any stat I pull up from here, we're going to have to take it with a grain of salt. So we'll go check last 15 games, opponent. The Lakers are allowing the 5th least assists. I expect that to be even worse without LeBron organizing the defense for him. The Warriors are allowing the 14th least. Not much edge there. On the rebounding side, Warriors are dead middle. Lakers are allowing the 9th most rebounds. So the Lakers defense, their offense has actually been really good lately since they changed their starting lineup. Their defense, not so much. Their defense has still been bad. They've just been outscoring teams. So with LeBron out, their bad defense is probably going to get exposed even more. And I guess we'll see how well they're able to run their offense. They've been scoring at the basket a lot. I don't think that should change too much because there was an article that a beat reporter put out on Twitter basically breaking down how the Lakers are one of the league leaders in points at the rim without being that high in drives per game. A lot of it is because of Anthony Davis and cutters and stuff like that. So I think with D'Lo and Reeves running the operation and AD being AD, commanding a lot of usage without LeBron, I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. Maybe they take and make less threes, but without the Warriors having a true big man down there to defend the rim, they might not be taking them that much. It's one of those where I don't really want to pick a winner. The Warriors probably win just because they're the better team without LeBron, but there's no clear edge in terms of matchup per se. So let's go check opponent shooting, catch and shoot allowed last 15 games. We see the Lakers are this is Oh wow, I'm surprised by this. This has changed a lot since early in the season, which is why I do these. I've said before, I do these. Like, I don't look at these numbers before I start recording because I want you guys to see the whole process in terms of like how I go about it. Now I do a little bit more nuanced stuff off screen and stuff too. Like this is like the base of every game I look at. So the Lakers, they were among the league leaders earlier in the season, or like through the first half of the season in terms of catch and shoot threes allowed. So to see them this low now is actually really surprising to me. And we can check on the Warriors as well. The Warriors are among one of the league's worst in defending the catch and shoot three. Now let's go check pull up shooting. That's something I want to make note of. Good versus catch and shoot. All right, pull up shooting now. Lakers, they allow, let's go check overall frequency, not just threes. Lakers are allowing the third highest frequency of pull up shots, which makes sense because they're not allowing a lot of catch and shoot, and they're a good paint defense. The Warriors, on the other hand, pretty average. I don't see much edge there. So we can say LA Lakers target, catch, and shoot. So we're going to see some Curry. That's really batted in this matchup. No, but I mean, like Clay isn't really taking pull-ups like that. Kaminga doesn't really pull up. He really takes it all the way to the basket. And then we can check within 10 feet as well. Lakers, in terms of frequency allowed, they're pretty mid lately. We can check in terms of percentage, 60%. So they're not, it seems like a lot of their catch and shoot mishaps earlier in the season. They were elite at defending the paint and then very bad at defending the catch and shoot. It seems like that's balanced out a little bit more recently, so that's interesting to see. And we can see the Warriors, they are one of the better teams in defending within 10 feet of the basket. They allow 4, 5, 6, the seventh lowest percentage of field goals against them within 10 feet of the basket. And what is fair to note, I want to double check this before I say this out loud because I know this was the case earlier in the season. Uh, so we can check Warriors here. Yeah. So they, at the rim, within 5 feet of the basket, they don't allow anything. But then in the paint non-restricted area, they allow a lot. So dunking, layups, all that stuff out of the picture. Floaters. So you're looking at your guards like Trey Young, Luca, like those guys that get in the paint and just touch it over the centers. They do well. So this is where we could see Curry really go off. Now let's go check on play types. Defending the ISO. We got Lakers. They're not great against the ISO, 34th percentile. Warriors, pretty average. Against transition, Warriors allow a lot of transition point, but they're 4th and 5th in transition points allowed in terms of being the worst. So this should be a pretty fast-paced game. Pick and roll ball handler, we can see the Lakers are better than average, 69th percentile. Warriors are slightly below average, 38th percentile. Roll man, which is going to be big for AD here. Warriors are pretty middle of the pack. Lakers are 41st percent. So they're right there next to each other. No big edge either way. And then we can check handoffs. This is where it's going to be huge for Curry. We can check handoffs and off screens. See how Lakers defend these. 41st percentile. So not a big edge, but promising if we wanted to take Curry and we were thinking about it. And we can check Warriors, even though the Lakers don't run this too much, 24th percentile. AD does run some handoff action with like D'Lo and AR, but it's not enough to make me want to attack this 24th percentile number. And we can check off screen. They do allow defensive looks. Good. So we can check how the Lakers defend off screen. They're actually really bad against it. Again, this helps Steph Curry. And Warriors are right there above them. So that is everything we need to know about both teams. We can check DraftKings now to see what we want to bet on. All right, we're going on DraftKings, and just for the sake of everybody knows DraftKings, most everybody is able to access it if you're watching this at least. I'm going to be using that, but after this video is over, make sure you line shop to find whatever the best line is. So for me, in this game, I'm going to be taking Luka assists. It's minus 145 now. I know I got it at minus 125 on another site yesterday, so we'll keep an eye out for that. And again, the only one I'd really consider taking on the Sun side is Kevin Durant. I think I'm going to stay off it. If it was at 24, 25.5, maybe, but at 26.5, I don't want to play it if I don't have to. I know the projections really like Booker, but again, I don't want to play with this Booker and biodynamic. So Booker's in play. It'd be between KD and Booker, and I think I'm just going to stay away from both. And I'll take the second leg from the Lakers game. And I think, by the way, you guys heard me talking about it. We're probably going to be going uh, with Steph Curry points if this would load for me. And let's see what the line is at. Steph Curry 30.5. I was hoping we can get 29.5. I can see what is the alt line for 30 plus for Curry. Minus 130 here. If we scroll down, sometimes these lines are different. 28.5 is minus 165. So I'll probably just eat that minus 130. I'm sure there's another site that has playable odds for his 30 plus. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I'll post the parlay on Pickett for you guys to tell, and you can see exactly what book it's going to be at. But that's what it would be. It's plus 198. I'm going to throw half a unit on it like I do with all the primetime picks. And yeah, I see no reason why this shouldn't hit for us. I really like this card. The one thing that we could check out too, just to check all our boxes, is this is the Lakers with LeBron off the court. I made it so we could filter for AD on the court as well, just because that'll be more the starting lineup. We can see that their offense gets worse, their defense gets slightly worse. They they're less efficient as a team, and then we can check defensively as well with and without LeBron on the court. This on the right side is on this column is without LeBron. On this side is with LeBron. So points per 100 possessions allowed doesn't really change much. Shot quality doesn't change too much. Slightly higher field goal percentage allowed from 3, slightly lower from 2. But what I like to look at is the shot frequency. So less shots at the rim. And again, we already talked about the Lakers being good at defending the rim. Uh, More in the short mid range. Again, good for Steph Curry floaters. It doesn't just have to come from threes. And long mid range, which is the lowest quality shot on the court, teams take less of, which is good for the Warriors. Corner threes, they allow a lot more of, and above the break threes, they allow a lot less of. So maybe that's good for your Klay Thompson, for your pods plays. But personally, I'm not going to play around too much with it. I think I'm just going to go Steph and call it a day. So these are the two that we're going to be running with. Again, I'll find the best odds and post it on Pickett for you guys to tail from there. Outside of that, all we have left is the update of. So the main update of the day I have today is we just had All-Star break. Obviously, some news came out. Players had week off rest, but the biggest thing that I want to talk about was uh, Vaughn being fired as the Nets head coach and Kevin Ollie being at least the interim head coach for now. And some reports came out. I don't know how many of them are true, but one of them was that players were upset that Vaughn was trying to run the offense around Ben Simmons when Ben Simmons returned. So as productive as Ben Simmons has been back in the rebounds and assists department, I know his assist lines have been kind of lower today. I'd be careful taking Simmons props because one of the adjustments we could see is more dominating usage from the guards with Schroeder and Cam Thomas. Maybe even Bridges runs the offense a little bit more and less from Ben Simmons. So that's something to keep an eye on as we go through this last stretch of the season. I think Cam Thomas talked pretty highly of Kevin Ollie, so I think we might see more usage from him. And there have been reports from the higher ups in the front office talking about wanting to build around Bridges. So keep an eye out for those. And then Dennis Schroeder, he's always has ridiculous amount of passes per game compared to the rest of the league. So there's a lot of people are gonna be touching the ball. It's just around who are they gonna be making their plays for. That's really the only thing that I'm gonna be keeping out for. I don't think they're gonna be any contenders or anything like that. Just something to keep an eye on for the prop bets. I think we should have a pretty good idea of what they're going to try and do within 2 to 3 games, considering Ollie was part of the staff to begin with. So I'll keep an eye on it. Maybe you see me talk about it on another update of the day, talking about what I've seen, or maybe we do a whole separate video talking about it so you guys can see where the edges are until the books finally adjust. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys are tailing. Appreciate you if you watched all the way through. But make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys for the picks explanation video after this and the primetime picks episode tomorrow. Good luck. I'll see you guys soon.